Today, I'm going to share with you the story of a discovery of my new identity and how that identity changed my family size from just 2 lakh children. Let's start with this lady. The lady in this picture, 7 decades ago, was just a child laborer. She used to follow her bonded laborer parents with a tiny sickle in her hand to the agricultural fields to eke out her living. And a couple of years later, 2 teachers, Prakasham and Purushottam, they enter her life and radically transform her. Denied home in the center of the village, these people become the tenants of this girl's home, and then they continue to live there in the fringes of Nalamala forest. Then they negotiate with the parents of this girl, and then first thing they did was change her name to Premamma. Then they enroll her in the nearby government school and replace that sickle with a tiny slate. And from there, she completes 10th grade despite severe discrimination. Then from there, she goes to teacher training college, and then she passes teacher training college with distinction, and then she becomes a teacher, marries another teacher, then she retires as headmistress and emerges as a mother of a senior police officer, then mother of a doctor. Yeah, thank you. Mother of a doctor, mother of a senior police officer, and an associate professor, and also a mother-in-law of MLA, Member of Legislative Assembly. And this lady is none other than my mother. Thank you. It is not just learning as to how to read and write transformed her destiny. It is the new sense of identity those 2 progressive teachers gave to my mother. And it is a rebooting of a new operating system that has helped her. Rooted firmly into her identity, my mother refused to stay with all of us. She goes back to her ancestral village and then decides to lead the rest of her life in the village. On her 69th birthday, she calls me, and then she wanted me to stay with her for about a couple of hours in our village. And that was the toughest moment in my life. And that moment changed my identity. So on her 69th birthday, I go to our native place. Then my mom asked me a very simple question, amongst many other questions. The question she asked was very difficult. Should I feel proud that my son is an IPS officer with so much of power, authority, and good salary? Or should I feel ashamed that in spite of my son being an IPS officer, still the people in his neighborhood live in abject poverty and deprivation? The girls get married at a very young age to become mothers of another girl. Then the boys become drunkards, and then they marry, and then they become irresponsible husbands only to beat their wives, and then the old people die without any care. Ladies and gentlemen, this has opened up my eyes. I come back to Hyderabad, and then I decided to take break from active policing. Then I go on to study in Harvard University, and then I came back. And then I volunteered to lead one of the biggest education systems in erstwhile state of Andhra Pradesh, that is social welfare residential schools. And this was my first day. My very first day in the education sector was absolutely difficult. I faced a lot of turbulence. The teachers' unions, they declared strike, and then they ran from pillar to post to stop my posting into education sector. What was their main worry? The main worry was I have guns, like you can see here, and then my personal security officers, they move with guns, and this guy might torture us in the name of discipline and imposing punctuality. That was their gross. I negotiated with them. But the lonely ray of hope was The boys and then girls, they were super excited to have a cop in their classroom, perhaps to guard their dreams. But it is not the poor accommodation. It is not the poor quality of teaching. It is not the poor quality of food that really bothered me. What really bothered me was the pervasive sense of inferiority. The children would shiver silently if you ask them the meaning behind their name. If you ask them, what do their parents do? If you ask them, where do their parents live? And what is the story behind their names? They would shiver. That was taking toll on their performance. They were trapped in an identity that was imposed upon them. Then I wanted to change all that. I came back to office. Then I sat with my colleagues and then brainstormed with all the colleagues. And then we also went to Google search engine and then typed Dalits in India. Then you see the images. Images of poverty, images of absolute no human dignity, manual scavengers, which no human would like to do, and people fighting on the roads, and then children are helpless. These were the images. For a while, without going into the technological aspects of these Google search results, for a while I thought, can we change? Can we replace these images with images of prosperity, images of happiness, and images of human dignity? And yes. And we also decided to discourage the usage of word Dalit, then Badugu, Badugu is backward, then Pichde, again backward, then Nimna, that is lower, then Balahina, that is weaker. We wanted to remove all these identities, and then we wanted to treat these children as unique creatures, unique individuals. Then we coined the word called SWAERO. SW stands for State Welfare, and Aero is synonymous with air and sky. We thought for a while, if we give this aspirational identity, probably that would reflect the aspirations of the communities, families, and everyone. Then we came with, but mere changing the names, will it change the destinies of children? Certainly not. Then we went to create an operating system. We started with something called 10 Commandments. The 10 Commandments are, I am not inferior to anyone. I shall be the leader wherever I am. I shall do what I love and be different. I shall never fear the unknown. And I shall never give up. Like the 10 Commandments we have created. Fortunately for us, all our students, they took it in a very positive way. Then these 10 Commandments entered into our school assemblies. And then our people started reciting all these 10 Commandments. We got really scared because we have been reciting the pledge that all Indians are my brothers and sisters, and I shall love my country, and so on and so forth, right from our childhood. But even today, we have news about hatred, discrimination, and all other evils popping up in our daily conversations. So mere change of identity and operating system won't do. You have to prove them on the ground. So how do we prove them on the ground? So we have to prepare people who can prove that they are not inferior to anyone, and they can never fear the unknown. So then we launched India's first ever chilling, most audacious expedition called SWAERO's Go Everest. We prepared 110 children in high altitude mountaineering, of which we prepared 2 children to go to Mount Everest. But unfortunately, on April 18th, 2014, when this expedition was in the process, 18 Sherpas died in the worst ever mountaineering accident in Everest history in Nepal. Then I called these 2 children, Purna and Anand. Guys, please come back. You have achieved enough. There is nothing to achieve, actually. You have achieved enough. So, please come back. You know what these children said? Sir, we are SWAEROs. We believe in these 10 commandments, and we shall never give up. We would rather die on Mount Everest, peak of Mount Everest, but we will not come back unsuccessfully. And these 2 children, they went ahead after 52 days, on 25th May 2014, they scaled Mount Everest. And Purna happened to be youngest ever female to have scaled Mount Everest. And look at Anand.
Praveen Kumar sir, we are SWAEROs. We are
At the top of Mount Everest.
Congratulations. You have camera? Yeah. Hi, sir.
You don't get oxygen on the top of Mount Everest, all of you know that. But still this boy is trying to make a statement that we are on the top of Mount Everest. When you give a powerful identity,
Congratulations. Hi.
when you give a powerful identity to the people who are deprived of that identity, the giant awakens and then they would never stop. This is what happened in the case of these children. And then often, Sushma, who lost both the parents when she was 3 years old, she goes to Arizona and then she becomes a skydiver. And then another boy, Anil Kanakam, it is very difficult to get 1 square meal a day for this boy. And then he becomes a marine biologist in Pondicherry Central University. And then from there, yes, from there he goes to bottom of Bay of Bengal only to unfurl SWAERO flag. That is what identity does. Now after this something magical happens. The SWAERO ideology, then they cross the compound walls of the schools and then they go to marriage halls. And all the people, they start having suffix as SWAERO who studied in these state welfare institutions. And then it goes to marriage halls and then people started printing SWAERO as the suffix to their names in wedding cards. And they also declared this is a dowry-free marriage. And much more exciting thing happens. Some even went further. And they said, okay, we took dowry when we were not SWAEROs. Now we realize that dowry taking is a crime. So we want to repay dowry in equal monthly installments to our... This is our dowry Wapsi program. And now it goes to mothers' wombs. Then people want to junk all the derogatory names that have been imposed upon them for centuries. So now people started naming their children in a very aspirational manner. Now you can see, Abhaya SWAERO. One guy names his son as Oxygen SWAERO. So from there, it goes to slums. Look at this boy who lost his parents to drinking at a very young age. Then he joined social welfare hostels in Rajendra Nagar. Then what he learns in social welfare hostel is only drinking and then smoking instead of reading and writing. Thanks to his warden. He drops out, gets into depression, then becomes a domestic help, then drops out again and depression. Accidentally finds SWAERO network and then he gives up all the evils and he works day and night and he becomes a very successful businessman. His name is Manohar, now Manohar SWAERO, and he's just 6th grader, and he married BCom MBA graduate. Then, this is his newly acquired car, Skoda Activa. I don't have car, but he has a car. That is what an ideology does. That is what, when you give an identity to people, then it really unshackles all the chains. So now, from there, SWAEROism going everywhere. Now you have SWAERO tea, then SWAERO marriage, and then SWAERO chai, then SWAERO standard time, and SWAERO wood, like Bollywood, Tollywood, Collywood, now you have SWAERO wood. The recent blockbuster Mallesham, the childhood portion of Mallesham was acted by the students of social welfare residential schools. You might be wondering, what is happening to those union leaders who hesitated against me? I'm very happy to share with you that those people have become my frontline soldiers. And then one of the union leaders, Mr. A.V. Rangareddy, is producing 50 doctors every year from one school. Earlier, we used to have 4,000 vacancies. 4,000 vacancies, my dear friends. But today, we have 1,49,000 applications for just 30,000 seats. That is the transformation. And we are a government school. But all is not very rosy in our story. Let me also tell you there are challenges. Now look at this girl. Jyoti was a silver medalist in 2013 when she won this silver medal in National Youth Athletic Championships in Goa. She comes to my office, then I give her 25,000 rupees check as a reward. And then she goes to her college, then celebrates, and then from there she goes to her home, and she doesn't come back. First month, she doesn't come back. Second month, she doesn't come back. Third month, she doesn't come back. We got really worried because Jyoti was our celebrity at 13 years age. Only to find Mrs. Jyoti. There was a Mangala Sutra around her neck instead of a silver medal. And after 6 years, Jyoti is a hapless mother of 2 children, my dear friends. Now look at these 3 girls. Their mother was brutally hacked to death because she gave birth to all 3 girls, not even a boy. Father got so outraged and then he killed her. These 3 girls also would have died, but for the fact that they stayed in social welfare hostels. Today we have girls like Jyoti and everyone like this. There are lakhs of girls in this country. It is not the question of caste. It is not the identity it is not the identity of religion or region which matters. It is the identity that inspires those people around you which matters. It is the Prakasham and Purushottam, the teachers, they changed my mother's life. It is the Purna and Anand who risked their life. If had they stayed in this locality where Jyoti was staying, probably Jyoti might have been sitting somewhere here today in this talk. That did not happen. That did not happen. Because we forgot our identities. We forgot our real purpose. Ladies and gentlemen, lifespan has limits. Lifespan has limits. But your potential to transform has no limits, absolutely has no limits. Praveen Kumar, a son of a child laborer turned teacher, could become Dr. R.S. Praveen Kumar. And Dr. R.S. Praveen Kumar, after a lot of toiling, could become Dr. R.S. Praveen Kumar IPS. And Dr. R.S. Praveen Kumar IPS could become Praveen Kumar SWAERO and transform the lives of 2 lakh children in these institutions. I think all of you have a story that can transform people. All you have to do is rediscover your identity, write your own commandments, and hit the road right away. If not you, who? If not now, when? Thank you very much.